Hi guys, Will Terry here. Doing another little video. I'm going to answer a question from somebody who contacted me actually through YouTube. But before I get to that, just a couple of things. If you ever want to know more about what I'm up to, if you just found my YouTube channel, you can always check me out on my blog, and that's at willterry.blogspot.com. So it should be just my name.blogspot.com. Just look right there on YouTube. And also, we've started a live class in addition to our Folio Academy video self-directed classes. We've got a live class going on right now. We're hoping to be doing more of those. There's a link to that on my blog as well. And that's for people who want to learn how to draw and paint and make children's books and all kinds of stuff. And we hope to be able to offer more classes. Okay, so today, a guy named David who works for Southwest contacted me by making a YouTube video for me. I couldn't believe it. Thanks, David. That was really cool, and it was funny too. I think that it's a private video, so you guys can't see it. He made it private for me. I'm special. But it was a really creative way to ask a question, and he had some good questions, and I thought that it would be good to answer it because I think it might be interesting for some of you guys. And he also read on my blog that I don't have time to answer individual or give individual critiques to people. I don't mind getting questions, so I wrote that on my blog, and I felt bad, and I felt like people are going to like hesitate to contact me or to connect because I said how busy I am and how I can't afford to give critiques. But critiques of portfolios take so long. And I take them very seriously, and so I don't just I don't have time to just do those. But we do critique in our class, and I've set aside time for that. Okay, so David at Southwest, his problem is that he works for Southwest, and he's off for about 3 days a week, and he loves to draw comics, and he's been drawing comics on his own. And from the ones that he showed on his YouTube video, they were funny, and they deal with situations that he finds on the airplanes that he rides on at Southwest, like a nun who orders a Virgin Bloody Mary, which I think is hilarious. And he's got all these cartoons of situations that happen on airlines. I think that would make a great book, and I think that it would actually be really funny reading while you're on an airplane to be able to read those things. Anyway. So his question basically is, I'm untrained, but I draw all the time, and I love drawing, and what should I do to be able to take this further and take it to the next realm, and actually maybe possibly make some money off these and get them published and stuff like that. So I think he asked some really good questions. So first off, let's talk about the fact that you're untrained, or that you're not a professional artist. I think that the notion of being a professional artist doesn't always come into play, and the reason for that is the story. And I've talked about this before on probably some of my other videos, but the story matters more than anything else. And so you can see a lot of what a lot of people call primitive art that does extremely well commercially. And so David, I'm going to give you some things to look up. I want you to look up, and these are not comics, but it still applies. I want you to look up Mo Willems, M-O Willems. Don't let the pigeon drive the bus. I've talked about that a lot before. I want you to look up Pete the Cat. Just go on Amazon and type in Pete, P-E-T-E, the Cat. Very primitive book series that's doing extremely well right now. And I want you to look up John Clausen, Jon, and Clausen is spelled with a K. And if you just start typing in K-L-A, it'll probably come right up. And his book is I Want My Hat Back, and he also has, I think it's called That's Not My Hat, which just won a Caldecott. Extremely primitive. And then think of properties like Beavis and Butthead, where the drawings are really scratchy and kind of ugly, but they're ugly for a reason. And I've said this before. If I illustrated Beavis and Butthead with my style, I'd ruin it. It wouldn't match. The crudeness of the humor of that show needed a crude style of art to go with it. So having said that, You can look at the ones I just mentioned, and I think you'll see that there's definitely not a polish to the artwork. So the notion of having to have polished artwork to make money, bonk. Story's most important, and what you're going for. If you're going for to make someone cry, you need to make them cry. If you're going to write something that is extremely dramatic, it needs to be extremely dramatic. If you're going to do stuff that's funny, like what you want to do, it needs to be really funny. If your stuff is kind of funny, that's not good enough. We're living in a day and age right now where the internet ignores mediocrity. It ignores good. It ignores really good. It only celebrates great. And but there's a lot of room to be great out there. You just need to try really hard and work really hard. And I would say that for what you're doing, David, that the humor component of what you're doing is the most important part. Like, can you convey the message you're trying to convey with the style of art that you're trying to do? Now, if you feel, if and this is going to take probably getting some feedback from other people, but if you can get feedback, and you talked about a mentor, finding mentors and stuff, and I would suggest trying to connect with people in your area. You might look up and see who's doing comics in your area and try to make friends with some of those guys. We've talked about critique groups before. A critique group is a group of people who are basically writing or illustrating or doing comics who get together and help each other with their work. And if you can get people that say, I think your style of art matches your drawing or your story, your comics, the writing that you're doing, then you're probably good. The stuff that you showed in front of the screen, I didn't have a chance because it was so quick to really look at it closely. But I'm thinking, even some of these guys that I mentioned earlier, like Mo Willems, Don't Let the Pigeon Dry the Buzz. It's primitive art, but it's designed really well. And so, whereas I wouldn't say people need to necessarily have drawing classes where they learn to make beautiful line work all the time, having a design class doesn't hurt. And when I say design, I mean the word design inherently means planning. So the opposite of design is chaos. And so something that's designed, you take a bunch of metal and you design, well, before you take the metal, you design and you make a plan, and then you build a car out of all kinds of raw components and elements and metals and alloys and stuff, and at the end you can end up with a car. So you're trying to convey an idea, and so in conveying an idea you need to have a good plan in doing that and planning out each panel, and that's probably more important than actually the raw drawing skills, although that doesn't hurt either. Another thing that's important to know is it's easier to learn to undraw, if there's such a word, undraw, after you've learned how to draw. So once you learn how to draw really well in design, it's easier to go back and make something primitive looking intentionally, but it has more impact, more legibility. And so the message that you're trying to deliver will come off quicker and cleaner, and people won't get stuck on trying to decipher the cryptic art, which happens sometimes when we don't know how to design. So that might be the best advice that I can give you is, and then I'm going to go into a whole other side of this. So as far as the art side, and I am going to do a little plug for myself. We are doing this in our online class right now. Now our class is full, but we do have the light version. So if you go to my blog and you look at the SVS Illustration for Storytellers, we're selling the recorded classes on that site. If you click that link, and it'll take you to our website, and you can check it out and see all the stuff that we're teaching in there. And you can go to Facebook and look for our School of Visual Storytelling there. That's what SVS stands for. And see what people are saying about the class who are in the class right now. There's a lot of chat going on. But we're teaching people basically everything that you're asking there. Okay, so the second part of this whole quotient is, if you step back maybe 40, just 20, 30 years ago and beyond, if you came with this question, then I would say, well, you're going to need to submit this to a publisher and see if you can find someone to believe in you enough to go ahead and publish it to get it out there. So the problem is you have these funny comics that you're sitting on and nobody knows about them. So the thing that you want is for people to know about them. And when people know about them, they can either go, those are kind of funny, or they're good, or they're awesome and they're amazing. Or what I saw, they weren't bad at all. They made me laugh. So I'm thinking that other people will think that they're funny too. So the thing you need to do is get them in front of people. So how do you do that? Well, before 20, 30 years ago, you had to find someone else who would believe in you enough to spend money to publish it and get it out there. You can still go that route today. It's a very long road, and there's no guarantees at the end. The flip side of that is to take matters into your own hands and self-publish. There's no guarantees there either, but the difference is it's really quick. So you can find out really quickly if people like your stuff. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to come for free, and it's going to take some time, but it sounds like you have some time. I think you're in a really good situation to actually do this, and I'm going to give you a couple things to look at. Now, it's very important to also connect with people online and use social media so that you can get your stuff in front of more people to get feedback. Because you can actually do that on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest and places like that. And you can see what people are responding to in your comics. Excuse me. Don't feel that the comics that you have are too precious to put out there. Your art is better shared, and don't worry if other people, don't even worry if people take your ideas and stuff. It's going to be hard enough for you to make money with your own art, and the more valuable lesson in all this is the feedback that you can get from other people. So you can't hide in a shell, or you'll never find out if people like your stuff. Look on. I'm going to give you some more homework to do. Go get on your computer and look on Kickstarter, and I want you to type in my friend who I'm teaching with right now in this online class, Jake Parker, and he did a successful Kickstarter called Antler Boy, which he asked for, I think, $6,000, and he raised $85,000 to print his Antler Boy book. So this is a self-published book, and he has another Kickstarter going on right now. I think he has like 1 or 2 days left. This is June, what is today? The 15th, June the 15th of 2013. So he's got a couple more days on his Kickstarter now. Even though they're past, you can still look them up. They're still on the website. So if you go to Kickstarter.com and then you type in Jake Parker again and then type in drawings, his second book is just a sketchbook. So it's just a book of his sketches. And the last time I looked, he was at about close to $50,000 on that book. And that's a self-published book. So this is money that he raised from nothing, just from putting it out there. Another one is a friend of mine, and I've talked about this before on videos in the past. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But it's my friend Jed Henry, J-E-D, Henry. And Jake Parker is J-A-K-E, just like it sounds, Parker. But Jed did the Yu-Gi-Oh! Heroes, and you can look that up. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is don't ask me to spell this, let's see, U-K-E something, Yu-Gi-Oh! It'll come up. If you type Jed Henry and you start typing in Yu-Gi-Oh! It'll come up. And he raised $312,000 for some poster prints of some Japanese 16-bit fighting game posters that are just really cool. And that project is going nuts right now, and now he's developing his own iPhone, iPad game. The message that I'm trying to give you right now is that you don't have to wait anymore. You can take your stuff, because of the internet, you can get your stuff in front of people. There's no guarantee that you're going to have success, but there's no guarantee you're going to have success with traditional publishing either. So the thing is, people love to laugh. They love funny stuff. If your stuff is funny, people are going to laugh. If people laugh, they're going to share it with someone else. If people share it with someone else, then other people are going to buy your stuff. I've talked to people before who've said that you're oversimplifying it. That's too simple. I don't believe so at all. I believe that I think that the reason that people say that that's oversimplifying is because they're afraid of doing something unremarkable. And we all are. I'm afraid of it too. So, you know, but you see things that go viral all the time, and there's usually something amazing about it. You get a YouTube video that people are passing around. There's something that people have never seen before, or something that's extremely funny, or something that's extremely disturbing, or something that's extremely fill in the blank. And that's what you need to be. I know that I've said this before. I hope I'm not boring people on my channel for harping on the same thing. But I really do believe that this is the message that we need to understand right now, is that we have the power to take our creations and get them in front of people and let those people decide if they're good or not. I have an iPad app that I'm getting ready to work on. I'm finishing up my 3rd picture book within the last 6 or 8 months. So I've been like one physical book traditionally published after another, and I'm coming to the end of those 3. And then my next project is an ongoing one that will last for a year. But in between that, I'm going to squeeze in 2 other projects that I really want to do, and one of them is going to be an iPad app that I'm going to really try to make extremely X, and I'm going to kind of hold on to that right now because I want it to be a surprise. But I have no guarantee that my iPad app is going to sell more than 100 copies or more than 1,000, you know. But I don't think you can go into it with the idea of making money either. I think that's like, it sounds wrong to spend a ton of time doing something without any expectation of money. But I think it's wrong to go into something to do it for the money, because then all you're doing is setting yourself up for depression and failure if it doesn't. And what the goal should be to do is to learn something. So your project should teach you something that you didn't know before, and you should be able to feel fulfilled as an artist, that you're creating exactly what you want to do. So this should be selfish. So your comics should not be diluted down for an editor or for someone else who thinks that they should push you in a different direction. They should be what you think is funny, because there are other yous out there who will think exactly what you're doing is just as hilarious as what you're doing. And when you start to market your thing, when you start to put it out there on the internet, you're hoping to find the other yous that are out there. And there's probably millions of them. You just have to find. You don't even have to find millions. You just have to find a few thousand of them, probably, to be profitable. So I hope that this isn't, you know, too general, but you know, I think that if you have a dream and if you have the ambition, and I can see from all the comics that you've been drawing that it's something that you love to do, that you're gonna do it anyway. You might as well do it and get it online so that people can see it. If you don't want to do a Kickstarter project, you know, there are you know, web comics that you could do. You could launch your own web comic, and there are people that are figuring out ways to get a web comic launched and then get a viewership online, and then do a Kickstarter. I know I keep going back to Kickstarter, but there have been several people who have done a web comic online for free, and then they tell their web comic people, hey, guess what? I'm going to put this in a really nice hardbound book. Would you like to buy it? And then what happens is the webcomic people support the project, but then that opens it up to all the people, the amplification of the people on Kickstarter who are just cruising around and like, oh, that looks neat. I wonder what that is. And so then you find those people. And if blogging and if you're on Facebook, you can grab some of those people. You need to be connecting, though. You need to start forming these connections so that other people can find your work and help you push it. That's all I have today, and thanks for making me laugh, David. That was a funny video that you made, and I appreciate it, and that's all I have, so thanks.